8:24, you're watching Sunrise Live from Salisbury this morning. We're counting down to a deadline set by the Prime Minister for Russia yesterday to say whether or not it was involved in a nerve agent attack on a former Russian spy here in Salisbury. Well, this incident has strained relations between the UK and Russia even further. And away from this case, Twitter has been told to look again for Russian interference in British politics after new data showed the social media giant underreported the problem to MPs. Nearly 2,500 tweets and over 150 profiles posting about British elections have now been linked to a Russian-based internet research agency. Well, joining us now from central London, we have the cyber security strategist, John Sapanis. And good morning to you, John. Reports from the Press Association finding that nearly 2,500 tweets about the UK, about Brexit and the refugee crisis were connected to 154 internet research agency accounts in the lead up to the Brexit vote. Twitter has been told to look again. What's your take on all of this? How much interference is there likely to have been in your view?
So I think the key takeaway from this story is that the scale of the exposure to weaponized propaganda on social media sites is order of magnitudes greater than anything we could have thought. And it's important when we tell this story, we talked about 1,000 tweets here and there, a couple of hundred accounts there, that we reiterate what we already know. We know that in June 2016, there were 150,000 Russian-linked accounts that tweeted over 45,000 times in the 48 hours leading up to Brexit. We know that the same infrastructure that enabled them to do so is still very much alive and operational, and there have been very limited actions taken by Twitter and Facebook to remove these vast networks. We know that the US Special Counsel Robert Mueller last week indicted 13 Russians and 3 Russian organizations for a targeted weaponized propaganda attack against the entirety of the United States. And we know that those accounts are still alive and active. So the news doesn't shock me this morning. If anything, I think that the scale of the numbers of the tweets being reported are significantly lower than what is evidenced right in front of us. We can see these accounts live and active on our Twitter feeds every day, and some of these accounts have tens of...
On that note, what do they look like? What do they look like? How can you spot these accounts and see how they work?
So I think the giveaway normally is numbers. So I think I've sent over a couple of examples that might be able to be shown on the screen. They tend to be very extreme, tend to support either very patriotic, ultra-nationalist sentiments, but they will tend to have tweets in the tens of thousands, in the hundreds of thousands, so it's an immediate giveaway that these are automated, generated bot accounts. They'll tend to have the same number of followers and following, and they'll all be retweeting the same types of propaganda from different kind of sites. So I see that you've got a few of the accounts on your screen. This account is a generic, automated, what I'd call a content account. It will retweet thousands and thousands of times of far-right anti-immigrant sentiments in order to artificially inflate a particular divisive political standpoint on social media. And the problem that we have to face is the size of these accounts. We're looking at thousands of these accounts that have tens of thousands of tweets and tens of thousands of likes and comments, which means potentially we are looking at a case where the number of impressions by these propagandized accounts is going into the billions and the tens of billions. And the problem is that Twitter and Facebook have so far not been compliant or cooperative in releasing that data so that we can understand exactly how much of this information the British public was exposed to in the run-up to Brexit and also in the current day on all political issues.
Well, this morning, Twitter, the company being asked to look again. Many other companies may be asked to follow suit. John, just while we have you on the subject of cybersecurity, there's a lot of talk this morning about potential retaliation from Britain, potential retaliation from Russia over this in the form of cyber attacks. Perhaps you can explain to us just what form a cyber attack may take, whether it come from Russia or whether it be British retaliation.
So I think cybersecurity experts are almost unanimous in agreeing that it is almost a certainty that our national critical infrastructure in terms of our energy grids, our railways, our water networks are probably already have been penetrated by certain types of Russian cyber attacks. That would be malware lying dormant, ready to execute. Our responses are being coordinated through the National Cybersecurity Centre. We have to improve our cybersecurity capability and invest in protective technologies that can help prevent against these types of attacks. But I think the reality of it is that the size, the vulnerability of our systems, the size of the system, it's almost impossible to prevent every single attack. And so this is a matter of proportion, and it is a matter of proportionate retaliation in ensuring that we can that we have a proper defensive capability that acts as a deterrent against these types of attacks.
Okay, it's quite an alarming picture you paint, but hopefully a worst-case scenario. John Sopanis, cybersecurity strategist, thank you very much for talking to us here on Sunrise this morning. More from Salisbury.